Welcome to day 2 of Storytime. Skycircus, Chapter 1. Have you ever listened to your heart beat and wondered what makes you tick? Lily Harton had, many times. On the outside, she resembled an unremarkable young lady with flame red hair, rosy cheeks, and the eyes the colour of the deep green ocean. But on the inside, she was as different from other people as chalk was from cheese or cog from bone. This was because Lily had the cog heart, a heart made entirely from clockwork, a machine of springs and mechanisms that nestled inside her chest. Ever since she first realized she possessed it a year ago, Lily had often wondered about the cog heart's unique qualities. By every account, it was indestructible, a perpetual motion machine. Lily was not entirely sure what that was, but there had been some suggestion from Papa that it meant she, or at least the heart, would carry on forever. To live forever was not an idea she was entirely enamoured of. The thought of outlasting everyone she'd ever known and loved was not a pleasant one. It made Lily feel less a natural human, more a freak of design. At least that was how she thought of herself when she dwelled on such things, though she tried not to, because often there was so much else to contemplate. Today, for example, was September the 23rd and her 14th birthday. Lily was relieved to be banishing her unlucky 13th year to the past. It had been a time of sticky scrapes and perilous situations, and she would never have survived it without the help of her friends. Its departure was definitely something to celebrate. The trouble was, no one was celebrating. Not her best friend Robert, nor Malkin, her pet mechanical fox, nor Papa, nor the mechanical cook and housekeeper Mrs. Rust, not even Captain Springer, Mr. Wingnut, or Miss Tock, the rest of Brackenbridge Manor's brigade of clockwork servants. Not a single one of them. That felt criminally unfair and downright outrageous, and the worst part of it was that Papa had postponed her birthday party until tomorrow, which was tantamount to cancelling it altogether. Instead, later this evening, there was to be a grand gathering in the formal dining room, which was not to celebrate her 14th birthday, as one might expect, but rather to mark the fact that Papa was due to receive some sort of lifetime achievement award from the Mechanists' Guild for his work on mechanicals and mechanimals, or some such. To be honest, Lily wasn't quite sure which, because she'd stopped listening at the point where he told her the presentation would preclude the celebration of her birthday. He had, of course, offered his most sincere apologies, but the date was fixed, prearranged, set in stone, and as such could not be changed. So Lily found herself moping around all day. The difficulty was finding a satisfactory place to do the moping, since the entire house was filled with the clanking preparations for Papa's special event. At 5:10, Lily had finally settled on the stairwell. She had even changed early in her bright red evening dress, her favourite because it was the only one with pockets, and because it had helped her stand out against the hall's sombre wallpaper. That way the entire household might finally notice her bad humour and what a martyr she was. Yet still no one paid her any attention. Through the open doors of the dining room she observed Papa in his white silk shirt and smart black tailcoat, nervously touching his slicked-back hair. He was instructing Mr. Wingnut, one of the mechanicals, in some last-minute adjustments to the table setting. Miss Tock, the mechanical maid, stood nearby, fastidiously polishing the cutlery that was laid out on the sideboard. Her arms moved quickly in repetitive clockwork motion, and the chipped paint of her brow furrowed in concentration. At the far end of the hall, the kitchen door stood ajar, and Lily could hear Mrs. Rust, the mechanical cook, juggling pots and pans and cursing the dishes she was preparing, as if they were alive and could understand her. Cogs and chronometers, boil, will you, you blasted trout, she shouted. And then clanking clockwork, are you cabbages never to be sauerkrauted? This was only marginally worse than her usual turn of phrase. As for Robert, who'd lived with them nearly a year since his Da's untimely passing, Lily hadn't seen or heard of a peep from him all day. She imagined he was in his room, getting changed into his smart suit for dinner. Malkin, that furry red-faced rascal, was more than likely with him. Either that, or he was up to no good, digging holes in the lawn again.